The china teacup made a soft clinking sound as I placed it in front of her. She tapped her perfectly manicured nails on my dining table, clearly impatient. Ashley Morrison, my husband's mistress for the past 8 months, looked just like the photos I had found on his secret phone. Young, beautiful, and full of confidence. I prefer coffee, she said, wrinkling her nose at the tea. How unfortunate, I replied smoothly, sitting across from her. Now, you were saying something about being pregnant. My name is Rebecca Chin, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought I had a happy marriage. James and I had been together for 12 years, building a life I believed was stable and secure. Then I found his secret phone, and everything changed. Yes, Ashley said, touching her stomach. I'm 12 weeks along. James and I have been planning our future together. He's just waiting for the right time to tell you. I took a sip of my jasmine tea, letting the familiar taste calm my nerves. Interesting. And when did you two meet? 8 months ago, at his gym, she said with a smug smile. He told me he was trapped in a loveless marriage, that you were cold and only cared about your career. I almost laughed. My career as a forensic accountant was the very reason I discovered their affair, and much more. It all started with that secret phone, hidden in James's gym bag. I wasn't even snooping. It fell out while I was doing laundry, but once I saw it, my instincts kicked in. One phone meant one affair, but separate bank accounts, that meant something much bigger. James tells me you're quite successful, Ashley continued in a condescending tone. I'm sure you'll be fine on your own. The divorce settlement won't be necessary. I cut in smoothly. Actually, Ashley, I've been doing some investigating of my own. Her smile faded. What do you mean? Instead of answering, I turned my laptop toward her. On the screen was a spreadsheet, dates, amounts, account numbers. 8 months worth of transactions from James's secret account to offshore banks. What is this? She stammered. This, I said quietly, is proof of money laundering. And quite a sophisticated operation too. James has been helping certain clients at his investment firm move money through fake companies. And you, Ashley, have been helping him. The color drained from her face. I don't know what you're talking about. Really? I raised an eyebrow. Your signature is on half the accounts. Your so-called modeling agency, the one that has never actually booked a model, has processed over $2 million in the past 6 months. Her hands trembled as she set down her teacup. James handles all that. He told me it was just tax planning. At best, it's tax evasion. At worst, it's money laundering for some very dangerous people, I said, scrolling through more transactions. The SEC and the FBI take this kind of thing very seriously. You're lying, she whispered, but I could see the doubt creeping in. James wouldn't. James would. And he did. I said. The real question is, what are you going to do about it? Before she could answer, we heard the front door open. Becca, are you home? James called. I saw an unfamiliar car in the driveway. He walked into the dining room and froze when he saw us. His face went through a series of emotions, shock, fear, anger, before he forced himself to look calm. Ashley, he said carefully, what are you doing here? Talking to your wife, she said, but her voice was no longer confident. About our baby, about our future. I tilted my head. There is no baby, is there, Ashley? She looked at me, confused. That was just part of the plan, I explained. Come here, make a scene, give James a reason to file for divorce. A clean breakup wouldn't raise suspicion when he suddenly moved large amounts of money. James's face hardened. Becca, you don't understand. Oh, I understand perfectly. I turned the laptop toward him. I understand every transaction, every fake company, every forged invoice. What I don't understand is why. We had a good life, James. What happened? He let out a bitter laugh. What happened? I got tired of playing it safe. Tired of watching my clients make millions while we lived on a salary. Ashley understood that. She was willing to take risks. Risks? Ashley's voice was small. James, you said this was legal. That we were just helping people avoid taxes. You mean helping drug cartels hide their money? I asked, pulling up another spreadsheet. Or was it the human trafficking ring? I've tracked everything, James, every stolen dollar you helped hide. James lunged for my laptop, but I was faster. I snapped it shut and stepped back. Don't bother, I said calmly. It's all backed up. And as of this morning, some very interested federal agents have it. His face paled. You didn't. I did. But first, I emptied your secret accounts. All the money you planned to run away with? Gone. Ashley shot up from her chair so fast it toppled over. What do you mean gone? Exactly that. The accounts are empty, and no, I didn't keep it. It's in a federal holding account waiting to be returned or used as evidence. James turned gray. Do you have any idea what they'll do to me when they find out? They who, James? The cartel? The traffickers? The clients whose dirty money you lost? I gave a humorless smile. Maybe you should have thought about that before playing criminal mastermind. A car door slammed outside, then another. Through the window, I saw dark SUVs pulling up. That would be the FBI, I said. They've been waiting for my signal. Signal? Ashley's voice was barely a whisper. I gestured to her untouched teacup. I needed to keep you here long enough for them to get into position. Didn't want you running off to warn your friends. James bolted for the back door, but he wouldn't get far. I had planned this too well. Seconds later, agents burst through both entrances. As they handcuffed James and Ashley, a female agent approached me. Rebecca Chen. I nodded. I'm Agent Sarah Martinez. That was some impressive work you did. Just doing my job, I said, watching them take my husband away. Once a forensic accountant, always a forensic accountant. Sarah studied me. It couldn't have been easy, turning in your own husband. I thought about the last 8 months, his lies, his betrayal, how he used our marriage as cover for his crimes. Actually, I said, it was easier than living with the lies. The next few weeks were a blur of interviews, court hearings, and endless paperwork. I watched from the gallery as James and Ashley were charged, him in an orange jumpsuit, her in a wrinkled designer dress that lost its glamour overnight. How are you holding up? Sarah asked after a long session. We had become friends, bonding over late-night stakeouts and financial tracking. Better than expected, I admitted. Though the media circus is exhausting. The story had exploded. Investment banker caught laundering money, brought down by his own wife. Some headlines painted me as a hero, others turned it into a revenge story. Sarah sighed. It'll die down. But Rebecca, there's something else. She handed me a file with surveillance photos. James meeting with various people before his arrest. We've identified most of them, she said. Cartel reps, traffickers. But this one, she pointed to a man in a suit. I recognized him instantly. Martin Wallace, James's mentor. She nodded. We think James was just a middleman in something much bigger. My stomach clenched. The firm itself. We've been investigating Wallace Financial for months. Your evidence gave us a breakthrough. But now, they know you're the one who provided it. My pulse quickened. So what now? We want to put you in protective custody. No. The word came out sharp. I'm not hiding. Rebecca, these people are dangerous. So am I said quietly. Over the next few days, I dove deeper into Wallace Financial's records. Every time I found something, I sent it straight to Sarah's team. Then, one day after court, Martin Wallace cornered me in a parking garage. Mrs. Chen, he said smoothly, such a shame about James. Perhaps we could come to an agreement. I held up my phone, showing him I was recording. The only deal I want is seeing you in prison. His friendly mask slipped. Something cold and dangerous flashed in his eyes. Be careful, Mrs. Chen. Accidents happen to people who don't know when to stop digging. I tilted my head. They certainly do. Like what happened to David Porter. He went very still. And I knew I had him. I've tracked everything, James. Every dirty dollar you helped clean. James panicked and lunged for the laptop. But I was faster. I snapped it shut and stepped back. Don't bother, I said calmly. It's all backed up, and as of this morning, some very interested federal agents have it. You didn't, he whispered. I did, I confirmed. But first, I moved every penny from your secret accounts. The money you planned to escape with, it's gone. Ashley jumped up so fast her chair crashed to the floor. What do you mean gone? Exactly what I said. The accounts are empty. And no, I didn't keep the money. It's in a secure federal account waiting to be returned to its rightful owners or used as evidence. James's face turned pale. Do you have any idea what they'll do to me when they find out? They? I raised an eyebrow. The cartel? The trafficking rings? The clients whose dirty money you just lost. I gave him a cold smile. Maybe you should have thought of that before playing criminal mastermind. A car door slammed outside, then another. I glanced at the window. Dark SUVs were pulling up. That would be the FBI, I said quietly. They've been waiting for my signal. Signal? Ashley whispered. I nodded toward her untouched cup of tea. I needed to keep you here long enough for them to get into position. Didn't want you running off to warn your friends. James bolted for the back door. But I knew he wouldn't get far. I had planned everything. Spent weeks working with federal agents to cover every escape route. As agents burst through both doors, I thought back to the moment I first found that phone. How my world had shattered. How I wanted answers, but found something far worse than an affair. A female agent approached me as James and Ashley were handcuffed. I'm Agent Sarah Martinez. That was impressive work, tracking all of this. Just doing my job, I said, watching them take my husband away. Once a forensic accountant, always a forensic accountant. She gave me a knowing look. It must have been hard, turning in your own husband. I thought about the last 8 months, the lies, the betrayals. How James had used our marriage as a cover for his crimes. Actually, I said quietly, it was easier than living with the lies. The next few weeks were a blur of interviews, court hearings, and paperwork. The media went wild with the story. Investment banker caught laundering millions, brought down by his own wife. Headlines ranged from dramatic to ridiculous. Wife's revenge, how love turned to justice. Forensic accountant by day, vigilant by night. One day, Sarah handed me a file. Inside were surveillance photos. James meeting with various people before his arrest. We identified most of them, she said. Cartel reps, trafficking ring operators. But this one. She pointed to an older man in a suit. This is concerning. I recognized him immediately. Martin Wallace. James's mentor at the firm, she confirmed. And possibly the mastermind behind the entire operation. We think James was just a mid-level player. My stomach clenched. The firm itself. She nodded. We've been building a case for months. Your evidence gave us the break we needed. And now, they know you're the one who provided it. Exactly. We'd like to put you in protective custody. No. The word came out sharp. I'm not hiding. Rebecca, these people are dangerous. So am I said quietly. Over the next few days, I dug deeper into Wallace Financial's records, using everything I knew about James's methods. Each discovery went straight to Sarah's team. Then, one evening after a court session, Martin Wallace cornered me in a parking garage. Mrs. Chen, he said smoothly, such a shame about James. Perhaps we could discuss a mutually beneficial arrangement? I held up my phone, showing him I was recording. The only arrangement I want is to see you in prison, Mr. Wallace. His friendly mask slipped, revealing something cold and dangerous. Be careful, Mrs. Chen. Accidents happen to people who don't know when to stop digging. They certainly do, I agreed. Like what happened to David Porter? He went very still. David had been a junior partner at the firm. He died in a car accident 3 years ago, right after asking questions about suspicious client accounts. I have no idea what you're talking about, Wallace said. No. I tilted my head. Then you won't mind if I share my theories with the FBI, along with the evidence I've been gathering for the past 5 years. He stepped closer, but I didn't back down. Everything is already backed up and distributed, I said. If anything happens to me, it all goes public. Every transaction, every shell company, every dirty deal you've ever made. I smiled slightly. How do you think your clients will react to that? He studied me for a long moment. Then finally, he gave a tight smile. James never understood what he had in you, did he? He mused. You would have been an asset to our operation. I'm not interested in being anyone's asset, Mr. Wallace. I met his gaze. I'm interested in justice. 2 days later, federal agents raided Wallace Financial. Martin Wallace and half the senior partners were arrested. The evidence I provided, combined with what they found, exposed a criminal empire that had laundered billions. James, facing multiple charges, agreed to cooperate for a reduced sentence, 20 years instead of life. Ashley got 5 years. During a brief meeting before her sentencing, she whispered, I really was pregnant. I lost it in county lockup. I felt a flicker of sympathy. Despite everything, she had been young, foolish, easily manipulated by James's promises. Learn from this, I said. Make better choices next time. The day Wallace Financial fell, I sat in my home office, watching the news. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. You should have seen Wallace's face when we showed him the evidence. Priceless. I smiled, but it was bittersweet. The investigation had given me purpose. Now that it was over, I had to face the truth. My marriage was a lie. My husband was going to prison. The life I thought I had was gone. But then I looked at my degrees on the wall, the career I had built, and I realized something important. I wasn't just James Chen's wife anymore. I was Rebecca Chen, forensic accountant, fraud investigator, the woman who brought down a criminal empire, not out of revenge, but because it was the right thing to do. That evening, Sarah called. The Bureau is interested in bringing you on as a consultant. Your work was impressive. I thought about it, about using my skills to catch other criminals, to protect innocent people. I'm interested, I said. But I have one condition. What's that? I want to look into other firms like Wallace Financial. This can't be the only one. She was quiet for a moment. It's not. And we could use someone like you. But Rebecca, she added, it could be dangerous. I thought of James, of Wallace, of everyone who had underestimated me. Good, I said. Let them underestimate me. It's worked out pretty well so far. 6 months later, I sat across from another corrupt banker in a federal interview room. He had no idea that the quiet forensic accountant asking him questions had helped bring down Wallace Financial. Let them underestimate me. Because in the end, that's what makes me dangerous. Not revenge, not anger. Just the quiet determination to expose the truth, no matter the cost.